I love your home already, and I haven't even seen it. Does that sound crazy? It's not. When we improve our surroundings, we simultaneously empower ourselves, which means every inch of space within your reach right now is an opportunity to tell the story you want to be living. Tell me that's not its own kind of wonderful. I have spent the last 15 years consulting clients and their homes through the wisdom of feng shui, intentional design, and some crystal clear communication. And you know what happens when you bring those three together? Life-changing magic. Your home is already in a conversation with you, so why not learn how to merge that awareness with some simple, straightforward, and smart action to co-create the life you want? I'm Amanda Gibby Peters, and I am here to help you learn how. Welcome to House Therapy. So whenever there is a new season in the air, you will usually find me strutting my shui around here, giving our home that spruced up and ready for anything feel. It's kind of like my insurance. We're in good hands for the months ahead. So if you're curious at all what's on our to-do list for spring and maybe want to follow along, lean in and listen. So first up, we replace the filters. And actually, we're in Dallas, so we do this throughout the year. But this is the month that we will get ourselves back on schedule if we've become a little too lax. It's also a good time for us to stock up on filters for the next several months. Filters remove toxins from the air, which means that they are, quote unquote, filtering out anything that's not for our highest good, which is pretty simple, right? The next thing we do is we have our windows clean. Now, for years, I assumed that I couldn't afford to have someone do this, so I would lament that it needs to be done. I even did it myself in a few of our homes, but eventually, always somewhere mid-process, I would quit and call it good enough. About 10 years ago, someone left a window cleaning flyer on our door, and so I called. And the price was legitimately less than a Target trip back in those days, so I scheduled an appointment, and I haven't looked back. Now, if you're someone who prefers to clean the windows themselves, I want to share with you the recipe that I used to use. So basically, I would fill a bucket or a spray bottle, depending on how much window I was cleaning, with warm water and white vinegar, equal parts, and I'd wash away. And I tried to save any of those newspaper circulars that would get thrown at our house just randomly in the middle of the week, because newspaper usually guarantees a streak-free finish. When I really wanted to amp up feel-good vibes, I would add a couple drops of orange essential oil to the mix when I was cleaning the inside panes. But in thinking about this conversation for the week, I want to tell you one other thing that you could do if you really, really want to amp up that fresh luck chi blowing your way. So if you happen to have it on hand, add a drop of cinnamon oil inside the window well, and it is just as good as blowing the cinnamon inside your front door. You're not going to actually put the cinnamon on the window itself. You're just going to put it in the window well. But just like we blow cinnamon in the front door to really welcome prosperity and protection and all those things, we're going to call this a simple shui hack, and we're going to use the cinnamon oil on the windows so that when they're open, you've got that chi blowing right your way. Okay, so let's round back quickly to why windows are a big deal around here. So windows represent the eyes of a home, which means they're very symbolic of seeing things clearly. They also speak to the outside world and our ability to consider outside perspectives. So when weather or grime is coating them, it means that we aren't seeing the whole picture, or sometimes even what's literally right in front of us. Clean windows not only improve our insight and clarity, the endeavor itself is going to welcome a lovelier ambiance into your life. Okay, so next on my list, it's time to talk about prepping and nourishing the soil. So my students will tell you I spend plenty of time talking about land chi and its effects on us. So when we're talking about prepping and nourishing the soil, this means composting, aerating, fertilizing. It also means if anything is rotting or dying, you want to remove it. If your green chi, your grass, your hedges, your bushes, your trees, if any of it is overgrown, I want you to know that it's consuming life chi from you and leaving you with what's ever left over. So a quick trim, manicuring, or pruning is going to resolve that loss quickly. And whenever a yard is neglected or the land chi is weak, it's going to amplify circumstances of poor health or wealth in our home and our life. In fact, there are a lot of traditional feng shui schools and experts that will say what's happening outside your home can account for more than half of the energy you're working with because of its influence. So even though a day in the yard might not be your favorite kind of shui, it's really worth it. Okay, so while we're still outside, a couple other things that we will do this time of year, we're going to mulch the planter beds. So when it comes to home projects, I think we tend to overcomplicate our visions, but it's really in the small improvements that we reap the most satisfaction. And mulching any garden beds you have is a really beautiful way to somewhat inexpensively manicure the space and manage overgrowth and any sort of green chi that wants to just sprout everywhere. And remember, when our curb appeal exclaims, "Why, hello," opportunities do have a way of sort of somersaulting to us. This is the time of year, too, that we're going to check the roof. So from a feng shui perspective, the roof is symbolic of our connection, the connection, I should say, between the physical and spiritual realms. So if you're feeling like all hope has evaporated, nothing's working out, you maybe even feel exceptionally vulnerable, one suggestion I have is to go up on your roof and assess for any storm damage or potential leaks. And obviously, only go up on the roof if it is the roof of your house, right? If you find that yours needs a little TLC, then let me tell you, those repairs and replacements, and I know it's costly, will have you feeling much more secure and protected. Now, before we head back inside, I'm going to say this is a good time of year to give the front door a mini makeover, because what happens at the front door? This is where all energy, opportunities, possibilities, luck, it's where all that energy enters your home. So if you want to give the energy in your life an upgrade, this is just a really good place to start because it influences what enters your life. And if the space, both outside or inside the front door, feels more like an obstacle course, consider that those things might be blocking opportunities from coming into your life. Now, once we step inside, this is the time of year that we dust the light fixtures and ceiling fans. We'll actually dust the ceiling fans, clean those a couple times a year. But this is a really good time to make sure that it gets done, especially because we do want to find ourselves feeling enlightened, illuminated, even in luminous company. Another really important win from having the light as clear as it can be is it's going to keep negative energy from building up around you. So basically, you want to keep things from getting dim. And we can do that by dusting off light covers, fixtures, or anything that's hanging over our heads. And while we're here talking about light, a good reminder to just get into the habit of replacing burnt out light bulbs. And in some places and spaces, if you can, increase the wattage in your fixtures. The brighter, the better is the notion here, since chi lifts where there is light. All right, coming around to the final few suggestions or to-dos on my list. This is also a really good time to clear any slow or clogged drains. Plumbing in a home symbolically represents emotions, finances, even digestion, which means if you have a clogged drain, chances are you or someone else in your home might feel blocked emotionally, financially, physically. And sometimes this can translate into having difficulty letting go of things or situations that you or your loved one no longer wants or needs in your or their life. So here's a quick recipe that I've used many, many, many times to get things moving again. So I will pour a kettle of hot water down any clogged drain to sort of soften any residue that might be causing the problem. I then pour about half to a full cup of baking soda on top of the drain, and that amount is just dependent on the drain size. I follow up by pouring 1 to 2 cups of white vinegar on top. And again, the amount is dependent upon the drain size, but just wait for it. The combination of baking soda and vinegar, if you've never done this, is going to cause like this crazy foamy chemical reaction that will rid buildup and grime from your drain. If possible, cover the drain. Now, not all my drains can be covered, so this is an optional nice to have, but not must have step. You want to let the baking soda and vinegar sit, and depending on how stubborn the clog is, you might let it sit for little as 20 minutes or as long as the whole day. I then will boil another kettle of water and pour it down the drain, washing everything down the pipes. Okay, a few additional notes. If you've used a commercial drain product recently, don't use vinegar, as that combo can create some noxious fumes. Wait a couple weeks and then you can safely use the baking soda and vinegar pipe power punch. I tend to buy my baking soda and vinegar in bulk just because we seem to go through it much more quickly than expected. And then when I'm in a really good rhythm, and you guys, I'm human, this doesn't happen all the time, but when I'm in a good rhythm, I will sprinkle our drains a little more frequently with baking soda and the vinegar just to maintain that steady, healthy flow. Okay, next on the list, wash the cover-ups. Now I'm talking shower curtains, window panels, bed skirts. Whenever energy around here is screaming for a serious spruce, this is actually a relatively easy way to dial up reinforcements. And I think that freshly laundered scent is a really hard one to rival when you've got that swirling in the air. You want to next, or somewhere in the mix, shine up the mirrors. Remember, mirrors double everything they reflect, so you want to get into a habit of wiping them down and then consider doing this more regularly. So obviously we clean our mirrors pretty regularly, but there are streaks and smudges that happen, and on some of the bigger mirrors, it takes a little bit more effort to get them clean. So it's good just to check in with them quarterly at the least to make sure that you're giving them a good shine. And then finally, we want to edit the closet. So here in the Northern Hemisphere, winter is wearing out its welcome, and it's a really good time to honestly look at the wardrobe and say, what did I not wear this season? This is one of the ways that I do smaller edits. Of course, I get in the mood where I want to purge everything, clear everything out, and when that mood strikes, I go with it. But after the season, I also look to see, okay, what didn't get worn this year, and that's when I'm going to let that go. But a seasonal edit is incredibly helpful because you're in the moment. You can honestly look at your wardrobe and say, okay, what did not see the light of day this season? So here's a little tip too, because I know closets can be sticky spots. When you're doing a little bit of a purge, whether it's a big overhaul or it's a seasonal one like I'm suggesting for spring, edit out enough things that your closet has a little bit more breathing room. And if you're someone who's really struggling with the accumulation of things, here's what I'd say. When the temptation to splurge gets a hold of you, resist that impulse and invest in nice matching hangers instead. I say it often, so I'm going to keep saying it. Necessity deserves to be beautiful too. And on that note, now you know what I'll be doing as I spring clean our house. And if you want to learn even more ways to have your home optimized for your success, I'm going to ask you to go check out the link in my show notes. I have a course, Become Your Own Feng Shui Consultant, and it is filled to the brim with simple, straightforward, and smart tips laced into learning the fundamentals of feng shui. And that's our episode, my loves. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to head over to simpleshui.com if you're craving a bigger serving of house love. And if you like what you're hearing, I hope you follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you love what you're learning, will you leave me a review? Your note will totally make my day and help even more people find the show. Have a fabulous day, and I can't wait to meet you back here next week.